would make money temporarily. Nothing always works except dollar cost averaging the American market as a whole, which I could teach a high school student to do in less than 10 minutes.
And I also want to double down on that advice for the majority of investors out there, in the sense that I think, despite all this noise about a recession, I think the Fed is finally coming to its senses and going to lower interest rates. And because part of what they're seeing now is there's an easing of the job demand, and some of the numbers that have been frightening them, which are actually good numbers. I mean, people are employed, making more money. Companies are reporting record profits. All the news has been good, but it's been scaring the Fed that inflation, which is around closer to 3% than it is to 4%. And it's not startling at all, but we haven't lowered our prices from when the COVID pandemic hit and prices soared. So people still think inflation is a real problem. It's really not. 2% is the Fed's target. We're at around 3% now, just a little bit over 3%. It's really not something where we need these high investment rates being charged. And if the Fed would lower those rates a little bit, mortgages would come down. People would be able to buy more things, which would also stimulate the economy. And it's high time the Fed got out of the way, lowered interest rates, and I'm hearing noises that Powell is thinking about doing just that. So I'm not thinking about recession in the near future.
Jim, did you notice that noises about reduction in interest rates are going on since probably late last year?
Yes.
Now for several months, definitely more than 6 months, there is a noise about that the interest should go down. They will be going down a quarter of a point, maybe half the point, and maybe it will start in March. No, not in March. Maybe in June. Yes. Oh, it's not going to be June, but probably in September.
Yes.
Good or not.
And I've been annoyed every time.
But did you notice that stocks like NVIDIA and likes? And
I'm paying attention. Yeah.
They don't pay any attention because there is one research just published a day or two ago. They investigated, it's one large investment company, they investigated the sales channel of NVIDIA to Asian markets. What they found is that the demand is such that they're buying almost everything what NVIDIA can produce. So they're putting their orders a month from now, 3 months from now, 6 months from now. They just want to get delivered these products to
their
them.
Revenue is guaranteed for the foreseeable future.
That's correct. So here's my dilemma with S&P 500 is that it's been now for years that handful of stocks carrying S&P 500 and the rest of them, say well over 490 stocks, they are almost as a ballast, which you are, I remember a time when I was still in the Soviet Union when you wanted to buy some really good book. And if you would go to the store and they had that book, but you had to buy 6 books, that one and 5 other books, which is complete garbage, in order to buy that one book that you really need. So that reminds me.
That's a good analogy.
You want to buy NVIDIA? You want to buy AMD? Or you want to Microsoft or so? No. You have to buy 500 stocks. Okay, with 500 stocks, you will get NVIDIA, a little bit of Microsoft or so.
That's funny.
But if you buy only these stocks, no stocks for you. No soup for you. Remember that line?
Yes, no soup for you.
Did NVIDIA just have a stock split starting today? Stock split, NVIDIA?
I don't know.
Yeah. NVIDIA had a stock split starting today.
They've done it about a month ago.
I bought it when they split. Yeah,
it's almost a month ago.
3-1, 4-1, something like that.
10-1.
It was what?
Go ahead, Sasha.
10-1.
Yeah. Now, what that does is it's much easier to sell a board lot of a $10 stock than it is to sell a board lot of a $100 stock.
Absolutely.
So while the value of the company doesn't change at all, it makes it available to a much larger number of people.
But NVIDIA doesn't sell any stocks. It's investors who are, some of them are selling, some of them are buying. NVIDIA doesn't sell anything.
But
And what
Juan's making a good point, though. They did the split for the logical reason that more people will be able to afford to buy it.
it will make it more liquid. It will be more
Yeah,
achievable.
yeah.
Small investors to buy. I have one friend of mine just called me today, and she followed my. We know each other for 30 some years, but we haven't been in contact very much. But all of a sudden in Aruba, we had vacation and they had staying in the same hotel. So, of
Wow.
course, we talked a lot and so on. So, about 2 weeks ago, she bought a few shares of NVIDIA, less than 100. So now she wants to buy even more to make it a lot, 100 shares. So now she will be able to sell covered calls. Although before
Yeah.
we had our
Or buy 'em on.
Aruba, she didn't know nothing about covered calls. And she was completely, when I explained it to her, she asked me, "Is that legal?" I
It
said,
does sound a little shady.
no, she was asking, so if you want to sell covered calls, how do you find buyer? Through internet, or you have your friends who are buying from you?
Yeah,
Who are
market,
those people?
baby.
The
Yeah.
market, baby. And she was worried about the stock at that time was 10 times as expensive as now. So she said, but very few people can afford to buy stock. Uh, well, you know what's the average daily trade of NVIDIA?
The volume.
About volume, about 500,000,000
Yeah.
shares a day.
It's one of
It's
the things I pay
approaching the
attention to.
S&P 500 because more people interested in NVIDIA and like stocks than S&P 500. Because S&P 500, you're talking about what, 6% return a year? With NVIDIA, you get that in in 3 days you will get much more. But say 2 days, you will get that return in 2 days.
Will that continue? Will that continue, Sasha?
Yeah.
Yes.
You-
For foreseeable future, I
Oh,
expect NVIDIA will go up to 200 easily, but probably by the end of the year,
Either
maybe
way,
much higher.
we can listen to Sasha Steyer or we can listen to Confucius. And now,
You
Now,
got to go with Confucius, Sasha.
Dylan,
I'm
what do
sorry.
you think? First of all, I don't mind. I respect Confucius, but tell me how many people will listen to Confucius and how many people will listen to Sasha Star?
And
The
how many
market-
was how is the
the-
Chinese market in Confucius today?
the market has never been more expensive in history. It's a great time to be taking profits. Our members, and we have about 300 members in this Monday Morning Millionaire program, are taking profits as the market rises. One of these days, the market will turn around and start dropping. We will be buying bargains.
But
It's
when is
such
going to happen? Milan, when
the
do you
market
think
start
it will happen?
dropping. And when it drops 7%, you say get out. We say buy more because it's a bargain.
When this is going to happen?
Oh, we don't know when, but it will happen for sure. It doesn't matter when. The thing is, always maintain an asset allocation of about 50-50, 50% in the market and 50% in cash or near cash. It doesn't have to be 50-50. It can be 55-45, 65.
60-40.
But that's not important. The important thing is to always have a lot of cash.
And when the
available.
market goes up, you need to sell some to restock your
When the
cash.
market goes up, you take profits.
Yeah.
When the
And
market drops,
That's a valid position.
you buy bargains. Now,
And
it's important. It's important not to have any money that you will need in the next
Right.
few years in the market at all, even though it
Absolutely.
has been the best investment to have. But it has to be out a couple of years. So that how far out it depends on your risk tolerance and so on. But if you don't have in the market the money that you will need to pay the rent, buy groceries, pay municipal taxes, buy a car if you're planning on, say, buy a car. Investing and paying a high interest rate for something that'll return even more to you does make sense. When I bought my building, a dental practice, I paid 24% interest, but dentists make enough money to make that worthwhile. Now, most cars out there on the road are owned by banks. People borrow money to buy a decreasing
Asset, yeah.
it's a silly thing to do, but that's the way it is with most automobiles. So.
Well, there's another thing that's going on. I wanted you guys' opinion about this because, the Dow is going close to 40,000. The NASDAQ is at 18.5, approaching 20,000. Never heard of these numbers. The S&P just broke 5,600 for the first time. And as we know, things can't keep going up. But when I look at the short-term future, I see no reason to expect things to turn around. I see only good economic news for the most part. We see some things slowing down a little bit from their peaks. But I always think there's two thoughts that I have that I want to bounce off you. One is sometimes there's a threshold that a stock has trouble going past. And when it does go past it, sometimes that threshold that used to hold it back is now support. It can't go lower than that. And are we seeing that with the Dow, the NASDAQ, and the S&P, that we have new support levels that are much higher than they were?
The answer to that is don't buy individual stocks. Because you buy a stock, it goes up, you're right, the seller is wrong. You buy a stock and it goes down, you are wrong, the seller is right. You cannot both be right. But buying the American economy as a whole has proven to be the best investment out there, unless you cherry pick, for close to 200.
Generalizing from stocks, individual stocks, to the ETF kind of approach you're suggesting, I'm suggesting that we might have a new high level of support than we've ever had in the past. Because while they're reaching these highs, they busted through the old levels they used to have resistance. So now that we've busted through these, I'm thinking that even when we have a correction, they won't go down to the levels that we've seen in the past. They'll stop going down at a certain point, and that support will be higher than it ever has been in the future. Or will things go so devastatingly wrong that they continue to go down? I don't see that happening.
We talk against buying individual stocks.
Yes,
Buying the
my
American
point.
market as a whole is an easy thing to do, and it's been the best investment for nearly 200 years. And will there be any difference? So how much is it? You mentioned, Sasha, 6.25%, 6.5%. That's inflation adjusted, and that's the correct figure. Now, if we are advised to live on 4% of our portfolio, and the portfolio is growing at 6.25%, what's wrong with that? You can't do any better than that. You can't do any better. And it's a simple thing to do. You can teach that to a high school student.
Totally agree.
Milan, I can tell you that you can do better than that. For example, if I'm making at least 300% a year, and you start thinking about fighting for 6.25% a year, and leave on the table 293.5%. To me, it's just a very painful decision.
Well, the way you put it makes sense, except when you study the past, you know what you're doing will reverse itself. So you're saying, Sasha, the figure that you use is 7%. If a stock drops 7%, you get out of it. We don't buy individual stocks.
Not in my situation, Milan, not in my situation, because I've defended my position with several covered calls, with puts, and I'm generating profits even if I'm not doing anything. For example, I'm going to Montreal for a chess tournament on Friday with Nava, and for a week, I'm not going to do anything with stocks at all. By the way, I would like to cancel all my programs next week simply because I will be away in Montreal. It interferes with my games. It's going to be too complicated. You see, when I was in Aruba on holiday, so all I have to do is take off from the beach, get in my room for half an hour, and then go down. Now, when you're playing chess, it's a little bit more complicated and more involved. The only exception I'm going to do on Sunday, second game, because it's a final of European Soccer Championship. I cannot miss that, so I take a bye. game.
We got to see who's going to win. Maybe
Yeah.
Ukraine will win, or somebody will win that is connected to you. And along those lines, I did watch a little bit of the Latin American soccer.
Okay.
I think Brazil did really well, and all along those lines. But they always
Brazil didn't do very well in the
they did not.
Brazil is already out,
They're-
beaten by
right.
Uruguay. So tonight, so okay, right now,
Uruguay is very happy about that.
in an hour and a half, we are going to see fantastic match, second semifinal between England and Netherlands.
Yeah.
And a lot of people want Netherlands to win simply because it's their final game with Spain. It will be celebration of soccer. England team is strong, but they're very dour and not
What's the
excited.
second semifinal? You said it's Uruguay against Netherlands, and what's the other semifinal?
Netherlands against England.
Two different tournaments. Yeah. The
But
Euro.
even more important game will be tonight at Copa America. There will be a match between Colombia and Uruguay. And trust me, they are playing on 5 levels higher than all European teams, with exception of Spain.
Yeah.
But Spain they're playing pure Latin American style soccer, so
Yeah.
that could be expected. But that Spain is the only one team that could compete in Copa America. No, nobody else. However, it's my opinion, and maybe Confucius would
Yeah,
think.
we just have a different opinion. I had a quick question because there was a little bit of a glitch while you were talking and all along those lines. So I know that sometimes when there is the whole notion of a major stock, like y'all have been very big on NVIDIA, and earlier, Jim, you were talking about this notion of another stock that people should be getting, and I just wanted to hear what that stock was one more time and everything, because I was thinking, I was going like, maybe that's like what happened when radio first came out and people rushed to get Westinghouse or whatever the popular radios were, and all along those lines. So what is this distribution stock that people should be looking at once again?
Marvel, which is the ticker tape is MRVL, and in what it is specializing in is the connectivity between AI computers, because they have to be able to talk to one another, and they want to do it at incredibly fast speeds now. And so the old support structure is just not capable of keeping up. And so you look at companies that are, one, they have to be generating revenue. I don't really buy into the people with promise to the things to come so much, but these guys actually have a product and they're actually selling it, and people are lining up to buy it because the demand for these to be connected, to be able to share information, is going out of people's, it's growing by enormous numbers. So the revenue projections in the immediate, short term, and near future going forward are just going to be, doubling. So these are the types of stocks that I look forward to and invest in before everybody else knows about them. So what do? I go on national your TV shows and tell people about it. But I already bought, so now I want people to buy it.
Okay, good idea.
Hey, Sasha, just really quickly, because you were talking about Colombia, and I've heard people say that is a wonderful place to go visit. I've not had the pleasure of going there, but folks have told me that if you're going to invest in travel, you need to go to either Colombia or Dominican Republic. I know you're big on Aruba, but I just didn't know your thoughts about that, even as a travel investment, because I've heard people say not just that they're a great soccer place, but they're a great place to visit. And I know that my cousin goes regularly to the Dominican Republic.
I would be careful, in my opinion, but that's all. I know that there was a chess tournament, and one of the Alex Yermolinsky, Grandmaster, told me to tell people I was from Canada.
Investing in travel, I could invest in travel by buying for myself and my wife a nice all-inclusive package, 5 stars hotel.
Enjoy life.
That's my investment in travel. That's about it. And what can I say, Jim? Back to your question. about the levels of support, resistance, and so
Yeah.
on, you can take a look at the stock of NVIDIA. That what's interesting, although it's exceptional company, exceptional stock, and so on, but it follows general rules of support level, resistance, and so on. Back when I was in Aruba, and there was absolutely fantastic earnings report, and stock went up very quickly from around 800 to 825. It went to 262, and then it started to fall down. Not right away, but in a few days. Now, what's interesting is that therefore it started to form a base. Now, the support level was at around 800, although it touched one day, intraday touched 750, but it didn't stay there. It ended up in 820, 25 or something like this. So for me, it was a great indication that support is around, say, 800 level or something, and the resistance is 960, where it went up and couldn't break, went down. Few days later, I've discovered that Investors Business Daily, which I followed religiously, they said that the resistance or the buy point for NVIDIA, it was at that time 850, 875. They said that the buy point is 972. Why 972? Because if it will break through resistance at 960, there is no more resistance. So it means if it broke through, all sellers are out, the new investors are in, and there is no more resistance. There will be a new resistance, but much, much later, maybe 1,000, maybe 1,100, but nobody knows even where, but it will be. So then 970 would become support, which was resistance, and the new resistance, nobody knows even where.
So that's what I was asking about the S&P, because it broke through 5,600. And so now I'm thinking, is the support level at 5,600, or is it going to be back at a lower level? I don't have a way of knowing that. I've never tracked the indices as far as support and resistance the way I do individual tracks. So I was asking Milan his opinion about that, but
well, it's at 559 right now, right this minute. I just checked. SPY is at 559, and so you keep talking about issues concerning picking individual stocks. We talk about don't pick individual stocks. Now, Sasha, selling cash covered puts is an important aspect of your investment.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, we're not allowed to do that in tax advantaged portfolios in Canada.
Oh, forget about tax advantage portfolio. Just get normal margin account and do whatever you want to do.
Yeah, you need a margin account. That's right.
Absolutely.
So we advise against margin accounts.
That's a different story.
Because it's the only way that you can lose more than 100% of your investment.
Yeah.
But in order to sell cash cover puts, you need a margin account. So open one.
First of all, you cannot lose more than 100% of your investment. You can lose 100%, but no more, because you will get margin call and liquidated before it will go lower than your money. So don't worry about losing more than 100%. 100%, it's realistic. More than 100% is not. It's impossible.
Well, also to open a margin account that will allow you to sell cash cover puts, there's a minimum amount which is quite significant. You can't order or open a margin account that'll allow you to buy 100 shares of SPY. I don't know what the amount is, but it's quite a large amount of cash that you have to have.
You can open margin account with $5,000. Obviously, absolutely. You will not be able to buy 100 units. That's true. You're right. You will buy maybe 20 units, 23 units. But then put more than $5,000. Put
our investors are very happy taking profits. The market has never been more expensive in its entire history. Why would you want to be in it in the first place, except to take profits as it rises and wait for it to start declining, which it will, and that'll allow you to buy bargains. Now, we're always shopping for bargains for anything we ever buy, whether it's groceries or an automobile or whatever it is, constantly looking for bargains. People don't do that when it comes to the stock market. As the market drops, we should be buying bargains. Instead, people are running for the doors. The average investor trails the market significantly. I've forgotten by how much, but equaling the market is very simple to do.
I
Yet
would
the
like to
average
suggest
investor
something.
trails the market.
Contrary to what we are discussing here, I would like to suggest that S&P 500 it's much riskier than individual stocks like Nvidia or Netflix or any other of the Magnificent Seven. I'll tell you why. Because yes, at some point the stocks may go down, they may go lower, some corrections, or some, even Nvidia had mini corrections or adjustment. You can call it any way you want. But at least it will go from ultimate high level to somewhat lower level. The rest, 493 stocks of S&P, they don't even have to go lower from that point because they never had any gains whatsoever. So whatever they will go down, they will go to lower and lower levels. And if the Magnificent Seven will have their corrections, it will go down, S&P 500 will be decimated. It will lose, if NVIDIA will lose 10%, S&P 500 will lose 30%. So this is why S&P 500, there is no support for 493 stocks which you are buying. You want to buy a good book and you're buying 6 garbage books.
So that's the answer. You don't think there is support for the indices like there is in the individual stock?
Okay, take one of the S&P 500 stocks, a company with the name Walgreens. Walgreens, about a couple of years ago, was around $50 stock. When is it trading today? 11 something. And there are several stocks similar to Walgreens. So this is one of the 5-6 garbage books that you are buying in order to get the book which you really want. So when you, instead of going out and buy NVIDIA, Netflix, AMD, Taiwan Semiconductors, and others, you're saying, okay, I'll buy all of that, but only as a part of 493 garbage. Now I have complete package. I have my garbage, I have my good stocks, and so on. Does it make you happy?
One of the things that I should have mentioned that I didn't, owning the American economy as a whole has proven to be the best investment in history for over 100 years. The thing that I didn't mention, it takes almost no time at all.
Ask investors in Walgreens how great they feel about great American economy.
What did they do? They invested in individual stocks, which we recommend.
No, they bought Walgreens as a part of S&P 500. They have it. They must have it. You want to buy S&P 500 today? Get it. Get your Walgreens. Oh, you got Walgreens? Okay, now you can buy also NVIDIA and you can buy a little bit of...
The S&P 500 will have some garbage in it, unquestionably. However, it has been the best investment in history.
Not anymore.
It's been reliable.
Not anymore. Not anymore. It's not even reliable. It's really shackles that you're putting on yourself and your people in order for them not to lose a lot of money. That's all what there is to it. Is you eliminate any profits which are there on the market, but you're saying, no, I don't allow you to buy NVIDIA. You have to also buy Walgreens. You have to buy some other garbage, and you can buy other hundreds of stocks. Okay, now NVIDIA, yeah, okay, you can have it. Okay, you can have Netflix. You can have a little bit of Amazon and CRM and Microsoft, of course, Apple. Okay, now you got all package. You got your garbage. You got your good stocks. So everything will go down. Your garbage will go even lower, and the good stocks will go. I'd rather to be in a good stocks and lose a little bit of momentum, a little bit of value. But at least I know what I'm playing with.
Knowledge born from actual experience is the answer to why one profits. You have not had a lot of experience in the market. You've only been investing for a couple of years. Now, had you started investing...
I'm following the market more than you think. Don't forget that I was one of the founders of 2 public companies. So I know about the market much more than average person. Don't forget about that. Yeah. My new system I invented about 1 year and 7 months ago, and I put my own money into it. A few weeks ago, I took all my money out, and now I'm playing 100% with the house money. I'm doing quite well with the house money, and it makes me happy. I can take riskier positions somewhat, but I'm not easily going to give up my gains. Never, never make this mistake.
Playing with the
It's-
house money always made sense to me. It was
Yeah.
like that with the blackjack tables. You know, once I
Absolutely.
doubled my money, I pocketed what I brought, so I could never lose what I brought. And then from then on, you're much more free as an investor, as a gambler, whatever it is. You're doing things without knowing that there are no consequences, and that's doubly true with what Milan said earlier about only play with money you could afford to lose. Never
I
put something on
actually,
your
you know
table
what? I
you
paid this
need.
money out a long time ago, but I was reluctant because I have such large positions that I thought that will impede my margin requirements, the freedom that I execute my trades, and so on. I was really reluctant, and only I figured out that my positions themselves creating such a huge margin that I don't need my money anymore. And in fact, when I removed my money, my margin keeps improving, believe it or not.
Uh-huh.
So I'm no longer worried about this money that I removed.
Well, we've come to the half-hour part of the show,
Yes, you're
Sasha,
right.
so maybe we should say goodbye and pick up this argument next week. I think you're both right, but I'll argue with you both.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for your contribution. We will meet again in 2 weeks' time, because next week
Right.
I'm
Let's
taking
wish
off.
it. Let's wish
Maybe
it.
they will
Yeah,
repeat
we will
this.
be richer. We will be richer. In 2
Yes.
weeks. Yeah.
Yes.
All green in your future.
And we'll see you in 2 weeks. Have a great, profitable time in the market. Have a good weekend. Bye bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.